Ne ya yanachich aya just a cut you han kone yanachich ya hagijni in kachunekse we anya shahash katangi achtuasgo dat yeji ne ka kagachi shahid we dachnach a wujin yuch adutla atki ye awe ik achahin tachunach achawe ichwadeek ye awe de kat Johan ja ye geht so wuch kagach to the deek tléixʼ wínit ganach achtuasgo kai shahidi we linkit yu katangi tléixʼ wínit iji kwati achtuasgo yisatini gled ka kainach kitu aka awe linkit kainach aya ki shahid was just the kata tatinach yeti iji de iji that waski we yata yes shukwa aka tléixʼ wínit iji kwati satin like ka kainach okay. Okay, let's see who got it, and does anybody need help? Let's do that first.
I'm still figuring out how to say fun.
Okay, this will be fun to figure out. Go the verb
ʼakaduneek.
1 minute translation challenge.
You
Yeah, big game show, be like big lights and music, people sweating. Could win like 100 tanas, stack of Pendleton blankets. Okay, so here's go to the English section, go to F, scroll way down, or we can go to G and scroll up if we want to, probably faster. Fun, C, enjoyable, fine. That sounds fun too. Now we're gonna go look for enjoyable. Be enjoyable, fun, make one happy, especially of speeches or songs at a party. And G, they give it away right here, but fine. This is a verb that's not in the dictionary I'm working on, or the themes, but it will be easy to add. So looking at this, Christmas, what do we know about that verb now? We know lots, huh?
It has the K preverb, which is one of the conjugation prefixes. And it's got let's see, kaguch. It's got a ka as a preverb thing as well. Ka sigu, and it has an S classifier. So K kaguch sagu.
Yeah. And so it's ga conjugation, right? That K in front of it gives us the dead giveaway. There's no K down here for ʼakaduneek. Oops. So then we go up here and we see K popping up in the future, G conjugation. Check the box. So now we'll look up goo and we'll just see if we can get a little bit more information about this verb. Then I think we'll have everything we need to write the theme down. So we'll go down to G. And here's Sigu, Kashushku, Tushiku, Kashtushku, Asagu. So there it is. And then you can also have to woo asagu, to enjoy something. So I do think you could say, to woo asagu. This is enjoyable to me. So this is the final piece of the puzzle, the ST. So we know it's G conjugation. We know they say ST. So if we come back into our thing and we say, okay, let's write this theme. Let's write a theme, people. What comes first?
The pre. The conjugation prefix, preverb. Okay.
We're waiting. Still, we're writing a theme. We're not right. This, okay. You guys are correct with the answer.
Goo.
But I said, let's write a theme.
So we're trying to write the entry that we would see in the dictionary.
Not in there. So we have to.
I mean, if we saw it in the dictionary, we're trying to write this out the right way.
What would it look like?
Object,
Ooh.
the thematic
Yeah, well.
object, no, classifier.
Just
Yeah.
no. There's no G classic.
Oh, Sid.
S.
Yes.
There's no subject.
Okay.
Nobody's
So the
nobody's making.
root. Root goo.
Long and low.
We got to sort of cross-reference this now. So let's go into the themes, go down to, because this is going to conjugate exactly like sigu or ʼakaduneek sigu. So if we look at it, it likes to say hi. So we need to mark it as hi. So what I was talking about before we started recording is there was one additional thing I made to the dictionary entry. So if you look through, as you read these themes, green is a preverb, means there's something in the preverb that you can't take out of that verb. It needs to be there. If it's in parentheses, it's kind of optional. Then we go on, we say S for the classifier, goo, this is marked high, right? So that means it's not going to go low. The number 1. The next information you need is right here. It's G conjugation. It's a state verb, so we know it can have an imperfective, and that imperfective will be plus I, sigu. It is impersonal, which is giving you information that's already in the theme, but it's saying if you look back here, you'll see there's no object or subject in this verb, different verb. And it says hi. This is the latest thing I added, was also noting what the stem variation is just in writing. So let's say if you look back here, you'll notice it's marked high. It doesn't like to go low. So
What's impersonal?
this one is. What's that? Oh, did you ask what's impersonal? No object, no subject. So if you look down here, this one says subject intransitive, subject only. So this information after when it says something, it says conjugation type of verb, and then it says verb, the next information is going to be already given to you, but it's written out here just so that we can kind of affirm it. So when it says subject intransitive only subject, object intransitive only object, impersonal neither, transitive both. So theme writers, coming back, just need to make one adjustment and say, this is like this, and say G, state, verb. Now we're gonna say object, intransitive, open eye. Okay. So now we have written that. So now this allows us to take it into the conjugator. So coming back in, like thinking about how these things work.
I thought is this the one that's, this is not impersonal though, because it has an object?
Yeah, it's not. So they, in story and niche, they list it as stative, which means object only.
Okay, great. Gosh.
If I go minus I there, does that make it a noun, like fun?
Oh, yes, yes. So
Oh.
you can have this. There is a noun version of this, which is so sagu is joy. And so now we can say, oh, look, this one, it has that thematic prefix. That's the single change that's made. A sagu is fun as nouns.
Okay. So like before I had kasagu yekwati. This will be fun. Does that work as well or not?
I think that's trying, because English likes to use like is and was, and so we catch
Yeah.
ourselves trying to do yekwati or wuti, where you can just go straight to the verb. And when you go straight to the verb, you'll get, oops.
Sorry, good chase.
Good. Good. And now we get our next, what are our next theme? They will not be happy.
Okay,
Wait,
but
okay, we got it back.
so for it will be fun. I got what was put there, but I was struggling. When do we put a focus particle there? Like where, or
Oh, like yeah or weh.
Mhm.
When you're talking about like some kind of noun.
okay.
So you say weku'ig, but it doesn't need to attach to a verb.
Yes, yes,
But and coming back to this sagu, there's a step I forgot. Which is because I have too many documents open. I don't have the thing open I'm looking for. Okay, here it is. So if we're gonna look this up in the conjugator, is a thematic prefix. So we'll go down to future thematic. We're gonna scroll down. This is 0 classifier, D plus 0, S. Here's what we're looking for. Now, under the things where there's just too much information to try and note on a little 6x9 card, because these will be 6x9 cards. We'll see what it looks like. I don't know. When you say object only, that's going to take you down to this number 3. So when you look over, you've got this, CV means whatever that thematic prefix is. And if you have more than one, we're only worried about the last one. Okay. So this one is the consonant is A underline apostrophe. The vowel is the letter A. So then if you substitute that, that is indeed our prefix. We look up here, it's long and high. That's what it should be. Last piece of information, we know it's conjugation. K must pop up right before it. It will be fun. Conjugator is gonna be so much fun.
So why is funny the shugu?
Because, okay, so I think, so if we take sagu, that means happy, right? So then if you go, you put in front of it, it's kind of mouth, but a little bit different. So then we see that in Shinget Tundatani, enjoyable and happiness are linked together. Funny is a different probably concept for Shinget, because you've got achuk, they are laughing. Atyashuk, they are smiling. And then you could say atkawashuk, they are laughing at somebody. So you could be laughing at somebody, and that's not fun for everybody. So maybe that's the reason why. And so, but chuk can be laughter, smiling, or funny. And then sagu can be joy, fun. And then if you can have an opposite one, so boring and unhappy.
Okay.
Okay. Uh,
Excuse me, since you're talking about the conjugator and you're talking about these things being file card sized, are we talking about an object that has 500 plus file cards in it?
well, it's
How
going
are
to
we
be
supposed to actually
going to
use
be
it?
a bound book.
It's gonna be what?
It's a bound book.
Yeah. It's gonna be like twice as thick as Nash Story and smaller.
600. I don't know how it's gonna work. I don't know. I don't know how to do this type of thing yet. But I got a draft coming in the mail.
I
I'll let you-
think that the digital version is gonna be much easier for us to search.
Sure.
Good
Yeah,
as
'cause
cheese.
you're gonna have to put, like the verb dictionary, a lot of people use those little sticky
Mhm.
mark things and they would put them on there.
Yeah.
You know, a really nice bound copy would have colored edges to each section. Or cut in tabs like the old dictionaries.
Oh, right.
That
Well, I guess at some point we probably, like everything's going through Kindle right now. So it's Kindle publishing. It's not the best option, but it's probably the fastest and cheapest option, perhaps, that's out there. And so, but maybe we use this as sort of a, just say, oh, let's try it. And then we do some, but the other thing too is like, I don't know how much this is gonna change. Like, we're gonna keep finding mistakes in here. I'm not confident about the negative habituals. There's some other areas where I'm not too sure, and I think by using it, hopefully we'll find those areas and fine tune it and then maybe get it right. And maybe it's, I don't know, it's unwieldy. But the other thing is like, it's a tool. And my goal is to give you all these tools and then to have you use them so much that you just leave them at home because now they're in your mind.
Well, that's really the trick.
Oh.
It doesn't have to be wieldy or nice or elegant or any of that thing. It just has to help some. And then at a certain point, it's so unwieldy, you can't be bothered because you know enough to sort of stumble along and you're on your way. Yeah, okay.
And you're on your way right now with a 1 minute time.
Ooh.
I try to stop it before it makes this horrible noise. I wonder if there's a better noise. A sound. Hold on. Let's see. Okay, how's that?
Better.
Okay. Or is there something even?
Just don't do the car wreck ones again.
That sounds fun. Good. Here we go. Look. Like when it, oh, whoops.
Yeah.
There you go. Okay, you don't have to do the one underneath it. They will be unhappy is different than they will not be happy. Does anybody need help?
I always struggle changing the pronouns.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So. But the one we're looking for, so if we go back to themes, we were right there.
Mhm.
So this is, and just note, this one down here is a different verb. And so you can also say tléixʼ. You can say ushku up here, and ushku is a different verb. So the first one is we look through this and we say, okay, the reason why this is impersonal, which means there's no object pronoun, there's no subject pronoun, is to change this verb, you must change the relational pronoun. Ach, du, ha, ye, hastu, ha. Those are your 4 options. So you could say ach tuwu sagu, it tuwu sagu, do tuwu sagu, and du is probably what we're going to land on. This is also g, also a state verb. It's high. That's atja.
Just do to woo K ka gu gusagu
Okay, you had it right.
kagusagu.
There's no k. There's no k.
Ugh,
Tléixʼ do tuwu. Oh, this is a negative imperfect.
Gusagu.
Oh no, this is a future. Yes.
Yeah, so go.
But the negative future wants to go long and low, but this resists. So I stay high all the time. Okay. Tléixʼ do tuwu kegusagu. Just like in terms of word order, keeping in mind where that K is going to pop up. Okay. Questions? Ready for the next 1-minute exercise? Your brain's going to be so sharp.
We're doing we're not doing the unhappy one.
Oh. No, okay, hold on. I could show you though.
Right, I was getting ready for that to be our next
I
one.
know.
Okay, I put it on there just that we would know that's not what we're not doing.
Okay.
I should have used the font that says, don't do this one. Tléixʼ do tuwu ke.
Is that the ushku?
Well, it's future.
Oh, goosh.
So this one, okay,
Uh,
if your classifier is sla or sa, sha, or sha, this either third person subject or no subject has to be guchsa, guchsha, guchsha. But if it switches now, and it's going to switch, well, no, it's going to be this. Sorry. That's what's going to be. That's funky. Tléixʼ do tuwu ke guchshagu.
So what's the difference, or what would be the contextual difference between choosing between these? Because like, I think of they will not be happy as kind of the same thing as like implying that they're gonna be unhappy in English. So yeah, what's the context?
I think being not happy is different than being unhappy. You can be not happy, but not be unhappy.
yeah, because
Be neutral.
you could be like not happy with, something that was done, or you could be like internally unhappy.
Mhm.
It's the way that I would describe those two.
Yeah, so like to say, like if I was gonna say, they're not gonna be happy about it. That's a one step farther they will be unhappy about this. And so for me, it's sort of like saying, well, I don't think they're gonna like it, but they'll probably go along with it. And then the second one's probably like, they're not gonna like it, and we're gonna have a situation.
Does Tlingit make that distinction in the same way that English does?
Only for a certain set of verbs, yeah.
Is there actually do in there? Because I was looking at the theme that's in the dictionary.
Mhm.
It has the object connected to.
Okay. Klesh, klesh, ke, tu, guch, she, gu. They will be an unhappy person. So now,
Would
huh?
I just add a dot to that? Be like, they will not be happy about that.
Yeah. So this one, so these ones are dealing with like states of like feelings. This one is being a type of thing, I guess. Like, so now you're getting right to, for example, there's two ways to say kind of a similar thing. You could say this, or you could say this. I think they're saying the same thing. And what are these things saying?
They'll be mad.
They
Like
are.
they're okay.
Anger has arrived at them.
Yes. Well, there's two different ways to say they are mad. This is like their behavior is contacting anger, I guess you could sort of say. And then you could say anger is inside of them. So then you could say this. I think it's long. To do.
You're an angry person.
Yeah. But here, and these aren't nice things to say, which is why it's good to know the difference between them. So when you're saying this, I'm like, they're just going to be unhappy.
I understand the distinction. I just got a little confused because of how the verb thing is written in the dictionary for that.
Yes.
And it does just say unhappy versus an unhappy person.
And I think that's maybe something I should look at. Because yeah, now that's because same with this, like they're an angry person. And I don't know if those distinctions are made with that one either. And then there's, since we have some people of this clan, this is a name. Tudakon.
Not ever an unhappy person. Not yet.
They are not angry. Not angry. Not angry inside.
So
Name of belongs to my father's people.
linking it back to the one on top,
Mhm.
would it be like more literally like they are not angry person?
Yes, Tudakon. They're not an angry person.
Versus they are not angry.
Yeah, or they're a person without anger, you could even say. Sometimes when that when that clash contracts, sort of like without, no. And then
So could I just say tléixʼ? No, I didn't mean to cut you off, but would it just say tléixʼ tudig on? They're not an angry person, and that could just contract to a single L. Tudig on.
yeah, and then I should probably have written it long because there should be an Urialis in there. Tudakon. But yeah, tléixʼ Tudakon. Okay. And then there was a question about the to. Yeah, this one and this one, they're very similar. I guess. So when you put to, you're talking about insides, and that's usually quite often talking about thoughts or feelings, which to is as well. But it seems to me like when you say to as opposed to built onto the verb, it's sort of like I feel this way, and then to is sort of like that's how I am inside. So I say.
In Spanish, there's a distinction between temporary states of affairs with a star and permanent states of affairs with ser. Is something like that going on here, or is it a different sort of sets of distinction?
I think this one at the bottom is an important one, because my great grandpa used to tell my grandpa, like, if someone makes you angry, you should wait. You gotta wait until you're not angry, or else you won't be yourself, you'll just be anger. And then a colleague of mine who's Yupik, his dad used to say the same thing. His dad would say, you could be angry for 5 minutes. And then you better stop it, because you're just gonna become anger then. And so I think that's what they would say here. It's like, yeah. Okay. Okay. Sentence number 3. Maybe we'll just do 5. We'll see how we're feeling. And
Once we translate this, will it be the same as I have spoken?
it'll be a little bit different, but the verb itself. will be-
Okay. Okay, jeez.
I gotta find like some calm, like meditating with.
The Satsi was better.
Okay. You don't like the clown noise? Okay. What a doorbell.
That's better.
Okay, a little whistle. That's ʼakaduneek.
Gwash, desgwatch. Zitan,
Zitan?
Zitan, Dísi, Zitan. That was my try.
Anyone else have anything?
I had to do the already, but I put eat watan.
I have day wasi ka.
Yeah, I pulled day for or D or okay, yeah. I found it in the phrase book, so it might be spelled different. This is why I'm
Oh, with the I?
yeah. Is there a difference, or is that just like
Yes.
the typing like?
I don't think so, because I think you can go either way.
Oh.
I know some language teachers and people who work in the language would argue about that. But, and so I says, Brett, however you want.
Can I amend mine?
Yeah, sure.
Can I add a yun on the front?
Yeah, I had the yun, but I accidentally used the.
Where's it go?
form of the-
Oh, does it go in the end or does it go in the beginning?
No, endings, I think endings.
Oh, eat yun kachwatan. Maybe. I don't know. Chuck did.
And we have day.
Does that mean already? Or like, or
Does
is that imply a different kind of already? Because I found it in the phrase book.
I think it's the fastest way to say already.
Mhm.
It's the one I would probably use for a sentence like this.
I think I get style points for desgwatch though.
The scratch is pretty cool. And, but do you have a verb? Sheshkwan?
Oh, no, all I got was.
Okay, just say, okay, I was just anxiously waiting. I thought you were just like eating and just like,
I really wanted to sit.
anyone else? Any other-
ʼakaduneek,
Oh, one more time?
ʼakaduneek. X pinched AXWDITAAN.
How many A's?
2.
A'akaduneek.
Tléixʼ.
Anyone else?
You instead of yay, actually, I think. Gonna teach.
So I would say either I would make one adjustment to this one, which would be this, I guess two adjustments. Day yuchachwatan or day chachwatan. Those are the two that I would recommend. And they are a little different. I already spoke. I already made a speech. They're very similar. And you could say, De ye yachwaka. I already said it. That's different, right? Different but related.
What would the others be saying?
Okay, I'm not sure about the DZI classifier. This would need to have like du in front of it. And if you said, like, let's just go through some examples of what this could be. So if I said, do eat yan achwatan, that would be, I already finished saying it to them. So that's, for me, that sounds like there's some big thing. Like I said, you better go say sorry to them. Gook. And then I guess you'd have to put the day in it. They, oops. They do eat yan watan. I already finished saying it to them. The yan part, I don't know if you could say they do eat chachwatan. I already said it to them. Or I already, well, I guess, hold on. I'm mixing my verbs up. So this would be, I already finished talking to them. It's not about saying a thing, right? I already talked to them, right? Like, let's say, for example, two people are in a huge disagreement. I say, "Good." In eat the tongue, right? I guess I'd say do eat khatan, and you'd say they do eat. Let's go look at the things. So there's a bunch of these for speaking. We should probably go through some of the finer differences between them. So here, I guess we go to, they start here. So this is to speak. Yukhatan. Like if you say yukhatan, speak. You're just trying to get someone to just say something. So you could say de yukhachwatan. And I know in a perfective, it's going to be short and high because that's a zero. De yukhachwatan. I already spoke. I already said something. Now we get this one, which is also zero. Do eat khatan. Speak to them. Do eat chachwatan. These ones are going to conjugate the same. I already spoke to them. So the thing is you substitute you and you put and eat in its place. Now you have to speak, to talk, to make a speech. So you could say chanidatan. Make a speech, say something, like make a talk, right? So this is more like say something, like speak. And this one is make a speech, I think. So in this case, you'd say de chachwatan, because it's na in the perfective that should be long and low. And now we get into phone calls, and then we get to stop talking, which I guess. So if we see yun right here, that tells me if I say to eat yun chachwatan, I stopped talking to them, but I don't know if that really works. I think this is more like I just need to stop talking right now. Okay, so,
Me,
uh,
what's the difference between yay and you? And why is yay high and you isn't? Like, because I see sometimes they're substituted for each other. Like
yeah,
it's
and that's a great question. So this one is kind of frozen on there, and it's sort of like to and fro. And so like the low tone one is like, it's a back and forth type of thing. Then you have yay and you, which are, those ones can be interchanged. So you could say, hagu, right? So we're going to use our quotes. Ye, yawa, ha. They said hagu. And then if you move hagu to the other side, then you switch to, oops, I got this backwards. So if I said, ye, yawa, ha, hagu. Oops. So the difference here is this one is saying as, they're both saying like thus or something like that, but this is sort of saying as this thing says right before, right? Chone yuchat duasak, yechat duasak chone. So this one is saying where is the specific item in relation to the verb? Right before, or is it coming after, or is it separated? I didn't think this was, okay. One more, or day away?
One more.
One more. Okay,
How would you say one more? Oh, take what?
one more. Take
How would you say one more? Take
atsuk. And you could
atsuk?
say, dachtehin suk. Do it 2 more times. Okay. But now we'll do it 1 more time. Kledehin suk.
Kane,
Ah,
how come, what's the difference between kach ditan and kach zitan?
I don't know about achzitan. We can look in the verb dictionary and see if there's an entry for that. And
What is des?
I found it in the your dictionary. I put it in the chat. It's number 7 in the ton entry, the speak entry.
this,
In tléixʼ, speak. It's the 7th one down.
yeah, hold on.
Ah,
Oh, yeah, it's D plus 0. That was all. So it should be D. This would have to be D plus S to get us to Z. Yes. Okay. Okay.
so if I didn't have the Z in there,
Yeah. Out the tongue. Or out the tongue. Should have been.
so close. Gonna cheat.
Okay. So they as opposed to desquatch. I don't know. Wait, I need like a WrestleMania partner. Like, tag.
I got this. No, I jokes.
I think some words just appeal to us more. I like desquatch, like linkwat. Linkwat is one of my favorite words for Kayaaní.
Yeah, so like So the day is the one that I hear a lot. And so this could be one of the difficulties with this, right? So you could say, "Dehoach," I'd already heard it. And Desquatch, it might be doing the same thing. I'll have to look in, I'll pull out a bunch of examples. It's all over in the Raven book. So I'll tell you what, 50 years ago, they were using this word a lot more than right now. That's one of the difficulties. And so maybe I'll ask Kayaaní, because he's working with Kayaaní and Anyatahash, like what is the difference between Desquatch, Yuchachwatan, or Yuchachwatan, and Deyuchachwatan. They might be kind of a similar thing. But it pops up, it seemed like when it was popping up in the Raven book, and I know I talked to Nora about it, and I talked to Marge and George about it. It was sort of like it had already started happening, but it was still sort of happening. And then maybe days it already happened and maybe finished. But that's just clearly theory. I would like to speak.
Oh, so much better.
Sorry. You need like a full-on trauma-inducing alarm.
Disregard what I sent in the chat. I had it sitting there and I accidentally pressed send. It was from an old one.
After this one, I got ʼakaduneek, ʼakaduneek.
I want to have spoken, I guess. Okay. Well, we've got 6 more of these coming, so we should probably do some Dukt'ootlʼ while we're here. But great job. These are, as I sit around, sometimes I was in my car driving home from dropping off my kids this morning. I was like, these would be fun ones. Go back. How do I go? Oh, go back.
I think it would be useful for us to go through, how do you get to the answer? So when we have more time, just, okay, this is where I go, this is where I go, this is where I go.
Well,
Gonna
so yeah, you have auch de temps. Right? Oh, that's time. Auch de temps. So here's auch de temps. Whoops. There, and then you get to tléixʼ auch de temps. I didn't speak. The shortcut for our subordinative phrase, grabbing this negative perfective, throwing a relational suffix on the end. So then you could say, ach, so it's a little bit different. So this was, I would like to speak.
Mm. Ah, okay.
Like you felt like, I'm glad that not like I'm full of myself, but like I had a cultural obligation and I didn't know if I could do it. And I'm glad that I tried, right? So it could be that kind of context.
Yeah, but if you're saying, I would like to speak, I mean, it's not too different than, you know, you hakatan, let me speak, right?
Yeah, and you could do it this way too.
Hakatan.
So that was like, I would like to speak, and then you're saying later, like not, this is sort of like if you're up there speaking. Like, so you stand up and say, I would like this, you know. And it depends, so much of this stuff that we all keep coming back to depends on context. Like I would hear speakers say this. Like they would stand up and say, I would like to speak. And this is what they'd say, right? And then, but this is something you might say to the Nakani or something, like you're saying, I would like to speak in the future.
Would it be softer or like something like that?
Well, if you're trying, like this, you're conveying information, so it's not like the harder version of this would be, you'd say, you'd say, let me speak. So then that's getting more, that you'd go for a hortative. Like, I don't see this as bossy.
Okay.
But if it's a culturally inappropriate time, then that's a different situation. But the phrase on its own, I don't think is necessarily bossy.
Yeah, that's, I guess what I was getting to.
A hortative would be. But you could say a oosh. Well, this, I don't think you'd want to say it. You'd sound full of yourself. You could say a oosh a'akaduneek. It would be good if only I could speak.
I was more thinking like question, like ʼakaduneek, like perhaps I could speak, yes.
I'd go,
That's-
what's that?
Gual, I was going for the conditional. Gual Kayaaní. Perhaps I could speak.
Well, you'd use a potential.
Okay.
So you'd say, wash on the time. But that's saying maybe I will speak.
Yeah.
And so again, it's saying like I might speak, maybe.
I might speak, yeah.
But then you could say things like it gets a little bit more complicated if you're saying like I really should, or there's a cultural obligation for me to speak at this time. It's getting more complicated. You could say would it be okay if I spoke? So you can ask permission that way. Okay. It's good stuff. I think it's good stuff. No, the subordinate could be a future as well. And it could also be an imperfective, right? So you could say, for example, this is turning into just a random page of notes, but you could say, yeyati. It's there. Hesh, ye. This one gets complicated. Okay, this one's a little different. This one's a little different. I don't know exactly. You could say yak. So let's say yeyati. It is located there. Yak. Yeti. So you can use them in imperfectives. It seems like what happens, because I've heard this, is the classifier switches to -I. The most common one is the negative perfective. And then I think the future as well. The future is pretty common. So you could say K Guch Sagu Yan Ye Jigach to Negi. Okay, what's that say?
Will be good when we finish working.
It will be fun when we,
Oh,
but no, it'll be Kesh Ke Kaguch Shagu.
aw.
And you Jigach to Negi. I tied up my own tongue. It will be boring when we're done work. I couldn't say it. See, brain was like, no, just stop. Just stay away, day. Can I get a read?
Oh, Hune.
Ah,
I had hopefully a quick follow-up question. I want to speak, isn't that, if my memory's correct, isn't that more of an infinitive in English? And does Tlingit care, or does the subordinate work for that?
What is
what is an infinitive? Sounds like a car
Oh.
that's coming in. The 2025 infinitive.
A verb that has to in it.
Oh, I want to.
To go outside or
Yeah.
to run.
I think it likes to use subordinate, like, and when we start trying to use the conditional, like I would like to think of the conditional as every time this one, there's this other one. That's how they sort, it's like, it's linking really direct cause and effect, but to say like that or when, that's what Tlingit likes to do, and that's what a subordinate I think does. Like, I would like that I have spoken.
Okay.
Yeah, if you try to do to, it's sort of like, that's a similar thing as when you're trying to use is or was or will be and relate that to yati, wuti, equati, right? So when you use those, you have to think of like, it is that way, it will be that way, it was that way, and not trying to use that to conjugate a verb, a sagu. Yeah. Ooh, it's a feeling day. Fun. Kahis yagi.
Lance, how come Kachda Tani instead of Kachdi Tani?
Oh, yeah. So once it goes, a subordinate likes to be a -I classifier. I don't know why. Like here's another, we know how to do this, right? So we say ich I see you. And then we say tesh ich satin. I don't see you, or I didn't see you. And then you could say yak ich satini, which is exactly like this one, but you add the I on it. So again, like Tlingit continues for me to come back to, it's not about how meaning works in English, it's about how patterns work in Tlingit. Like your English brain will continue to not believe you. I think your English brain will be like, nope, not gonna do it, can't, no. But then the Tlingit brain's like, it's fine, buddy, it's okay. We could both exist. We could look at the world differently. And so for some of this stuff, like I think it does continue to come back to pattern building for me. That's the only way I could kind of make sense of it in my mind.
So I ask why.
The subordinate, yeah, just the subordinate form is a minus classifier. But if you look at subordinate forms too, it's most commonly a negative perfective. I don't know why. That's just how Xingit likes to do it.
I was
But-
talking about that beer commercial. Why ask why?
Oh. Sorry.
Just
Why
drink.
Why when you could translate Dukt'ootlʼ in the infinitive coming out next year. Okay.
A subordinate.
Dagudin awe wekan yakukich.
Sheesh. So with ʼakaduneek, this is another like this, like we're looking at all these verb modes, and it's not even all of them. Like this one is after he, so what you have here, like we talked about this one that was up here, like I know that we saw it, but there's an after one, right? Like you could say Yunchikakuch after they got to camp. And in this case, you could say dak kagud, which is what I want it to be ga in a really, I really want it to be ga. But I don't know. There's something interesting about this that I'm not quite getting, but I feel like when that thing or after that thing used to happen. So after he would come, so dak is upland. That's why I don't understand why it's ka. I want to listen to it really closely and see, but
Is it ka because ka is already back there?
well, I expect it to be ga because you're walking upwards, but maybe there's something about the ka mode being in this verb mode. I just think it's after he came up from the water.
How does Gaguden work here? I was struggling with that.
So you have kagut,
Right.
then you have in. So after he used to come up from the water.
So a decessive?
I think it's a decessive and a consecutive, if you can have those two in a row.
Okay.
But like,
Okay.
I don't know. I think it just, there's no end to finding more and more things. Wechan Yakuskitsch.
The fire would have gone out or was always gone.
Yeah, so we got Yakuskitsch. And just, we'll go look at this keys verb just to check it out. We'll go here. We'll go down to the K. And we get, so this is our verb. All right, I guess this is our verb. So we have ya and ka and L classifier, keys, transitive. So this unlocks the verb for us. So we know like it didn't go out, he put that fire out. Okay, and so we also could probably estimate that this is a zero conjugation verb because it's going long right here in the habitual, which means there's an aerialis in there. And the only one that gets the aerialis is the zero conjugation. So he would always put out the fire.
Huh. He would have put out the fire or would it have been put out?
He did it because
Okay.
talking about him, and this is a transitive verb. So after he used to come up from the water, he always put out the fire. That's what this phrase is saying. Like there couldn't be some new subject in there, or you'd have to have de in there, or you'd have to have, if we go in there probably is a very similar verb for something to just go out.
Before you go farther
Mhm.
on this, you said a statement, because it's a transitive verb, we know he did it. Can you break that up more? What is transitive? How do you
Yes,
know
okay,
that?
yes, thank you. So when they say TR, so when we go and we look up a verb in here, and we say, okay, he's coming up, and that motion verb goot has a subject only. So we're still talking with, I know it's been like a week or so, we've been doing like these little sentence translations. Sorry. But we know we're talking about Dukt'ootlʼ. He would, like, just to sort of recap, let's sort of recap a little bit to get us to where we left off. Nobody liked him, nobody respected him. So he went down to the water when everybody was asleep, and that's when he would strength train by himself. He would stay in the water until it overpowered him, icy cold water. And then he always used to come up and put out the fire. So we know we're talking about Dukt'ootlʼ. We get to this dak, which is like after he used to come up from the water, when he's in the water. And then we get to this verb. This verb means for the subject to put out the fire, which is always the object. So this is one of those ones where the object is always third person, unless you're talking to the fire, be like, I'm gonna put you out, fire, which you could. So we know there's a subject in this verb. So now we know he put out the fire.
Yeah.
So I have a question.
Okay, we got one, and we'll come to you. It's okay?
Okay, sorry.
No worries.
So, and we know that it wasn't like the tide coming in, like the sea that was putting out the fire.
We would say, on Yakushkitsch. And also he's about to pee on.
Oh.
Just to ruin the surprise. But this is why he says right here, should I tell it just the way they tell it? Because he's feeling a little sensitive about this is early on, nobody was recording full-length Tlingit stories. I mean, maybe Nation Story had done a couple, De Laguna had done a whole bunch in Yakutat and a couple in Angoon. So now Nora's going down to the speaker in Klawak, and he's probably nervous. She told me, like, they did not want to be recorded, and they were worried about how people would think about Tlingit people. And so there's two things in this story. The tree is called the village penis, and then he pees on the fire when he comes up. And those were two things that he was just nervous about it. So he wanted to make sure, like, this, do you want me to really go for it? And she said, yeah. Okay, Christine.
Yes, I have a question about when we're translating it. So I write it differently just because I was trying to be a little bit more literal. I said the fire he would always put out in that order. And I guess I'm just trying to decide what we're trying to accomplish by,
Yeah, so you could say that fire, he
yeah.
out always, right? And so it's kind of, we're in between this sort of, we're not really segmenting and glossing. It would take, like, we could spend an entire semester on this story. Like, we're on page 2. And so, but it's fine. It's also fine, right? Because the whole goal here is for us to look at the complexity of Tlingit and just admire it and just be mesmerized by it and set some goals to say, like, I'm going to understand this story. I'm not going to just memorize what he's saying. I'm not just going to listen and remember the English that I read. Like, I am going to get to how all of this stuff works. And sometimes I think it is helpful for us to change the word order so it more closely matches what's in there in the Tlingit.
I actually really like that. It helps draw a map between Tlingit and English in my brain to use Tlingit grammar, but English words. And that, I find that helps me remember the Tlingit better in the long run. Anyway.
At some point, your English brain has to let go a little bit. It's like, go ahead, Tlingit brain. Like, it's like I'm watching my kid, I'm supposed to like help my kid play violin. Like, how come you don't help her? I was like, I have no idea what any of that stuff is. Like, she's just launching, and I was like, watch her fingers go. Like, I couldn't tell you if she missed a note or not because I don't read music. Like, after, like, once you graduated from like hot crust buns, you know, I was kidding. But the English brain is not going to be able to keep up with the Tlingit at some point. That's exciting. But I know it's also disorienting, scary, and nerve-wracking. But this means that you are climbing that fluency level where your brain cannot translate as fast as it needs to the English side, which is wild. That's fun. That's how good.
So to me, I think the English translation is wrong and gives us a different impression. It implies that when he came up from the sea, the fire was already out by some unseen agent, and then the word "but" where the fire had been, So I hope that, this will help translate it a little better or differently. What? Goodness, cheese.
Oh. And yeah, and maybe there isn't. Maybe there's an intransitive version of this verb. I don't know. Do one more.
Yeah, gan ite ha s ut age.
Sheesh.
This remains of the fire. Forever. Is the S a contraction of Haas?
I don't think so. I think it's this.
Sleep?
It'll be H.
Seth, really?
Would always be warm.
Yes. So why might there be an S right there? Plus, age.
Is that part of the verb theme?
So if I think you have two options here. One would be, it's a contraction of hus, which is the most common thing that you'd see in a situation like this. But who would the plural theys be? Or thems? The fires?
The fire embers?
That's certainly possible. Gan itequas ut age. So it could certainly be a hus. I don't know why it would be a se, to be honest. And that se is perhaps, maybe. And that's what you hear when people say, wasas ieti. Achadi. Akwati really takes us for a ride. But like, we're trying to max out with a whole bunch of stuff, right? And this gives us things to just continue to work on through the whole summer, and just to see, like, to get to the master storyteller, I think it's really important to understand all the things that they're doing so that we can set goals for ourselves to just comprehend it, and then set goals for ourselves to get to that level as well. And so, Liz, I'm just looking in the chat. I do like that for the fire to go out. I do like that. So I think we should revert it back to that. I saw that transitive when I just jumped on. Sheesh. That's acha.
I've got one question for you in class. And that is, what is your preferred word for the word, like a beaver dam? Is that 8?
Nora said sakit. I've probably heard kidu more often, but I like sakit because I think of Nora. The video is one of X'éig, the one that X'éig made. And they're driving in a car. She looks out the window, she says, sakit, beaver dam. And I really liked talking with her. She was fun. But I think kidu is probably more common in terms of what they say, or what I hear people say. So either one of those.
Sheesh.
You know if there's vocab kicking around about playing not the checkers one, is it chess? Is it like the one?
Oh,
Because I was looking around for like king, queen, knight, check, and checkmate.
anish, antla,
One could be new.
On
yeah, new.
what would be new?
A rook,
Rook.
a specific knight.
Oh, like probably Gaudon
Dawn.
is a horse.
Mm-hmm.
And then what is
Check and checkmate.
Ooh. A shot. Maybe.
Is there a meaning behind those things? I just
Like,
associate them with check.
Yeah, check is like you're one move away from getting there.
The king is in danger.
You're in danger by
Would checkmate just be hoocha? I mean, it's done. There's nothing else you can do.
So I would say ʼakaduneek, I'm going to defeat you. And then for checkmate, you could do 2 options. You could say, or maybe 3. Hucha. You could say de ʼakaduneek, or you could just say ʼakaduneek. I have defeated you. Or you could say kes ade dan clean. Kes ade dan clean. There's nothing you can do about it.
Sesh ade
Dan clean.
on day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
Kay. Also, something about putting my king down.
On
Which
each
is-
Oh,
Mhm.
no.
that was fun. Anish is something we wouldn't have said. That's a term we made for making so we could play cards.
Oh, cool.
So we name Anish, Antla, Anyedi. That's the jack.
Is there a place where we can find all that to play cards?
Tricks playing.
Oh, okay.
There's the YouTube.
Yeah, and there's
Go.
a video that came,
Sweet.
which is funny because like when those cards came out, I was really excited. And I worked with them. And a student of mine, we were in class and he said, you know what they should do next time? I said, you mean what I should do next time? You know what you should do next time? Okay. Okay.
I would love a link to the latest themes. Because I think March 8th is an old beat up version.
Goo.
Goodness, geez.
On Ish Wuna. I like that. It's very serious. Okay, gonna cheese you, hon. Wukecha yechini. Cake agachsagu.
Sheesh.
Goodness, geez.
Oh, geez.
Sheesh, Tsiagin.